All right, welcome back to the VPZD show. I'm Dr. Vinay Prasad, professor here at UCSF, and I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Zubin Damania.
This is the first time you've ever called me a friend, VP. We've known each other for how long?
I think 2 years.
Yeah.
And dare I say, we finally entered the friendship zone.
Oh, we're in the friend zone. You know, it's funny. Actually, the first time we met, it was like a scene out of Step Brothers, right? It was like favorite. Okay. Favorite non-medical journal to criticize from an evidence-based standpoint on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Good housekeeping. Yeah,
so
we got along immediately.
We did. We have a mutual desire for truth, justice, and the American way,
and a mutual intolerance to BS.
Yes, that's. No, I'm highly tolerant of BS. I actually engage in it, but I also like to make fun of it. So I play both ends of it. That's the difference between you and me.
Oh, well, I do think one should know when one is bullshitting.
Yes,
and that's what I think that the current FDA administration and others, they don't know when they're telling the facts and when they're BSing. Anyway, we're going to come to that. But I guess one thing we got to say off the top of the docket, the listeners of this podcast, they're angry. They say, where's the show?
Yes.
Why you take so long to make a show?
Yes.
And what I want to say is, we're busy, and we were both struck down with illnesses.
We were stricken by the triple-demic, but just one part of the triple-demic. So both VP and I got like full-blown RSV AIDS.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I was on PEEP of 15 and FIO 200%. I mean, it wasn't good.
Dude, my wife was turning me Q30 minutes, and I still got a bed sore. Yeah, the full prone.
The full rotisserie is actually improved better than the prone.
So just constantly rotarizing.
They've never actually studied that in in trials.
It'd be an interesting thing.
It'd be an interesting thing. Yeah, why let anything become atelectatic even for a moment?
That's true. If a little atelectasis is bad, then even a littler is also bad.
Even a littler is also. I mean, that's the logic of a lot of things in the pandemic.
Many things, many boosters, and so on. Which we'll talk about. Well, speaking of which, actually, so we both got sick. You were traveling. I was
drinking heavily in your basement, as you usually are.
Smoking crack, but only PRN. Just to fill in for the blanks when I wasn't drinking. And so we took we had a hiatus, but we're back and we're committed. We're committed.
We're going to be doing this more often, hopefully.
2023 is going to be the year of the VPZD podcast.
The VPZD podcast. It will be the year.
There are some other people making podcasts now. And
everybody's got one.
Everybody's got a podcast. My mom has a podcast probably. I just don't know about it.
I put a graph out. It was like podcast listeners over time, podcast hosts over time. One's going down, one's going up. But if I may, what I dislike about a lot of podcasts are some have the banter,
yes,
and some have actually factual content,
yes.
But there are very few that got both.
You got peanut butter in my chocolate. You got chocolate in my peanut butter. They're two great tastes that taste great together, banter and science.
Yes.
And you're right. I think we have that some of the time.
I think we do hopefully aspire
I'm trying to be false humble.
Well,
I think we're the best podcast on the podcast thing, whatever that is.
Sometimes I do listen to some of these other medical podcasts. I want to rip my hair out.
I want to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. And listen, okay, let's be honest. We're fully authentic here. I hate them.
Yeah, I do hate them. Yeah, I hate a lot of them.
They're overproduced, but under good. They have no spontaneity. They're not funny at all, even when they're trying to, especially when they're trying to be funny. You're like, ooh, this is why doctors are not.
They're not funny. And then what about the fact that they're riddled with medical inaccuracies?
Oh, that too.
Okay, so that's one thing that troubles me.
That also.
The other thing I saw someone recently say, they said they're getting ready to make a YouTube video, and they're like, people always ask him, how do you write your script?
Oh.
Can you imagine? What script?
Writing a script?
What script?
Dude.
This is unscripted.
So I recently did a Doc Vader
You put down
live.
your phone. Now I got you.
When Z-Dog MD puts his phone down, you know it's about to get real.
It's about to get real.
That's right.
He's interested. Okay.
So
you did Doc Vader.
I did Doc Vader live.
People love it.
Because I was like, I don't really feel like making content. I have nothing to say until I see you. Then I always have lots to say. Mm-hmm. But Doc Vader has a lot to say. Because what happens, I realize, it has to be live.
Yeah.
It cannot be scripted.
Right.
And I have to interact with an audience, and I have to be in the mask, in the character. And what happens is I disappear.
Of course.
And I don't even remember what happened.
You're the Daniel Day-Lewis of Doc Vader.
That's right. It's so method.
And then you're living that life. And, what people don't know is you just literally live that life for the whole film.
When I'm not here and I'm in Vader character, I'm out there murdering Jedi babies. That's what I do.
But what's true about it is that anytime you assume a character, to some degree, you suppress your own personality and take on the personality of the character.
It's 1,000% right. And it just makes you, it makes you understand this, that we're all running personality operating system software anyways. It's all an appearance in consciousness. I'm going to just get philosophical for 1 second. So when you drop one coat and you inhabit another, it's almost like the two coats don't know what each other are about. So when I do something like that, I get in a flow state and I'm like, I don't know what that was that just happened. And then I'll go back and watch it and I'll be laughing at my own stuff going, what is that? That was funny. Who did that? And it wasn't me.
It didn't feel like you, right?
But so scripting it ruins all that.
But to be fair, neither of us script anything.
That's right.
People sometimes ask me like, oh, when you take down a trial and doing things, like I'll make slides of the things I want to do, but it's a 30-minute extemporaneous speaking because I sort of have a sense of what I want to say. And even this, people won't realize that, but like the list of topics we're going to talk about is like 10 lines.
It's not even that. And I'll tell you what it is because people should know what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about
let's do it.
Sudden death.
Yes.
So like this whole thing, like people are dropping dead and everyone's freaking out.
And the NFL, we're going to get into the NFL.
We'll talk about that.
The National Football League.
Exactly. We're talking about why the FDA some people on the FDA advisory committee for vaccines are angry that they did not get all the information from Moderna needed to make the decision on the bivalent booster.
As dictated to them by people working for the White House. Let's be honest.
Yes, let's be clear.
Yeah, let's be clear. All right, let's go.
Vinay has a paper out on myocarditis.
That's right.
Which I think I'm really
peer review and off the charts on Altmetric. It's getting massive downloads. These papers usually not even your mother would read, but this one people actually reading.
You know what's so funny? When you start talking about this, I'm like, wow, the kind of view metric kind of thing has infiltrated even the medical publishing space.
Oh, that's true. I mean, the Altmetric is a numerical metric of how many eyeballs get on something.
Yeah.
How much news stories and how many things. And just as an aside, we wrote that paper with Kevin Bardosh and others and Marty's an author of the paper, and Steph Burrell and some others, and it was arguing that boosters should not be mandated in college campuses, and that has gotten like an Altmetric of 13,000.
It's ridiculous.
It's off the charts, and with very little traditional media coverage.
You know what it is everything Marty McCary touches turns to viewer gold.
Yeah.
Like
even that soup turned to gold.
Even the soup that he ordered, it took him 12 minutes to order.
Right, he wanted to know where the chicken came from.
So we're talking about that.
Death, yeah.
We're going to touch on like, do medications actually expire or is it a scam?
Okay, yeah, that's important.
We can talk about deep fake and Microsoft's new voice technology, which I'll tell you about.
Mm-hmm. And that's how we made the show today.
That's how we made the show. We're actually both deep faked.
We're deep faked.
That's actually a great name for a podcast, deep fake.
Deep fake,
like the medical deep fake show, like where we actually pretend to present science but actually do it the way like the government or the CDC would actually do it.
Yeah,
and it's total
fake.
trash.
Yeah,
and people would actually believe it.
I think it's got a market.
And I think, and then whatever else pops in our head. So that's our whole notes.
Well, those are the notes. Now the work is done.
Now here's a question though about the spontaneous speaking thing. Do you think just people are not capable of that, or do you think they just haven't tried? Like, do you think more people should try to be spontaneous when they do things?
Yeah, I mean, we all know if you put a few drinks in someone, they're capable of a lot. I mean, they're capable of spontaneity.
Yeah.
I think many people have a very strong filter that they are overly concerned, and maybe rightly so in this environment where you get canceled over any little misstep you have.
Right.
But they're rightly concerned about how their speech will come across. Let's just take Obama, for example. You listen to how Barack Obama likes to talk.
Make no mistake.
Make no mistake about it. He's thinking about those word choices very carefully.
Because he's so deliberate and there's hardly any gaffes.
Hardly any gaffes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the opposite of a gaff.
He's the opposite of Biden.
Yes, he's the opposite of Biden. I mean, he's a man in his prime who's extremely a consummate politician and a talented speaker, but also a very methodical person who answers questions. And the other interesting thing about that is when you're a nobody, no one will put up with listening to someone talk in that halting manner.
Yeah.
When you're the president of the United States,
they'll pull it up.
I see the people interview people like, what's the next word he's gonna say?
Yeah. It's funny because Trump is he's only an extemporaneous speaker.
And I think there is a charisma to that.
Yeah.
But look, when you listen to a podcast, you don't want, I mean, as much as you may like Obama, and I do like him, I think, you don't want to listen to a halting person all the time. You want to listen extemporaneous speak.
You want to listen to Trump speak, but you want to read Obama.
Yeah,
that's the difference. Like you read Trump, you think he's like a school child who like lost his way.
You think like a monkey was just banging on a typewriter. I mean,
exactly. But then you listen to him, and it just seems to work.
I mean, he does have some something,
some
charisma. He's got some it factor.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. I'm sure Biden is right in between. He doesn't have it, and he also doesn't.
He's not
have
a captivating speaker.
Yeah,
I mean, I think he's easily. I mean, I would fall asleep listening.
Yeah.
But I mean, so that's one part of why I think our conversations are good. The other part is that, I think the content is interesting. I mean, look, even though this is a medical news show, but we do try to at least talk about topical issues.
Yeah.
This question you're going to be asking about the expiration date of medications, that's a real technical issue.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about sudden cardiac death, and maybe we can just get into it.
Let's jump into it. So everybody's been asking, okay, sudden death.
Monday Night Football.
What's his name? DeMar.
Yeah.
Had this event where he was struck and
he did the striking.
Didn't he? I didn't watch it.
Okay. I just saw a little clip, but I mean, two football players who are large and have a high mass collided at high velocity.
Yes.
They're both wearing chest protective cages. I mean, they're both wearing the football, pads.
The gear.
He stood up. I think, there's a 1 second, half of 1 second that he was lucid. Then he tumbles backwards and he's in sudden cardiac arrest. And, nobody knows all the facts, but people are saying VT arrest.
Right.
People are talking about commotio cordis, which maybe we should explain. What is
should.
commotio cordis? Gotcha! Gotcha. What is commotio
I'm dead,
cordis?
Jim. Yeah, commotio cordis is an unusual thing, but it does happen. And it actually was documented in baseball players largely, where they would get hit in the chest with a ball. Or actually, there was a ball boy, I think, in tennis who was actually hit and killed by, I forget who it was, some famous tennis player.
And karate. Karate is another offender.
Interesting.
But I think the gist is like a single point, high velocity impact to the chest wall, typically in a teenage man, typically in someone thinner, and it precipitates VTVF.
Yes.
And which quickly degenerates into VF.
And the reason it happens is that mechanical stimulus can be translated into electrical impulse in the heart through tissue impact.
Sure.
And it has to happen at exactly the right part in the cardiac cycle.
Right.
Right on that T wave.
Where you're vulnerable.
As you're repolarizing.
So what is this, R on T phenomenon?
R on T phenomenon. I see. Okay. Which,
well, we're not cardiologists.
We're not cardiologists, but Vinay's Indian, and so am I, which means we could be cardiologists. We're effectively given the pass.
You're practically a cardiologist.
I've done it.
You've done it.
I didn't do the fellowship, but I've done the work of being born. So this does happen. It is documented. But
it's
now
rare.
But now it happens in the setting of everybody's looking at vaccines and looking for reasons that the mRNA vaccine is going to cause you to drop dead.
Okay, so here's what I think about this issue.
Yes.
One, I think that there's so many people commenting, and honestly, shut the fuck up. I mean, shut the fuck up.
Brett Weinstein can shut. Sorry.
No, you picked somebody, but I mean, there's thousands of people.
Yeah.
My Twitter feed was just like, oh, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this, it could be.
You have no fucking idea.
Like
you don't have the data.
You don't have the data.
Yeah.
And what is the data? Let's just talk about it. I think somebody will probably actually have a good sense of what the answer is.
Yeah.
And what are the possibilities? I mean, of course, one possibility is commotio cordis. I mean, that's a possibility.
Sure.
The other possibility was just a random cardiac arrest, which also happens to people.
That happens.
It happens to young men. Other possibilities, he has underlying cardiac dysfunction. He has ion channelopathy. He's got HOCM. He's got right ventricular aplasia. He's got,
drug use.
Drug use. He's got substance abuse. I mean, or just random event entirely.
Right.
All these are possibilities. Another possibility might be that one could imagine that somebody had a pre-antecedent illness.
Yeah.
Somebody had myocarditis
Yep.
from antecedent illness or from vaccine.
From vaccine, yeah.
And then somebody had some precipitating event, and then somebody went into arrest as a result. Now, how would you delineate these possibilities? I would imagine that the moment you come into the hospital, after they resuscitated him and he seemed a little bit well, they'll put him in a cardiac MR.
Yeah.
And if you find that somebody's got signs of myocarditis on cardiac MR, and LGE on cardiac MR, and they had this event happen, then maybe you're constructing one story. Alternatively, you could take him to an EP lab and find out he has ion channelopathy, he's got Brugada, he's got something else. Alternatively, you could find nothing and then just say it was a commotio cordis, But the only people, the people who know it are the people who have access to the Epic chart.
That's right.
Okay.
So everyone else is speculating, and they're using it to advance whatever own agenda they have. And this has happened now. What they'll say is, well, but athletes seem to be dropping dead all around the world. This was happening with soccer players in Europe they were talking about.
Yes.
And so on and so forth. But the truth is, if you actually drill into the data, is there an increase? Hello. Is there an increase?
Headphones on.
Oh, yeah.
Why am I wearing my headphones?
Oh, you're wearing your headphones?
Yeah.
Dude,
we're not wearing the headphones?
You're so Rogan, man.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because
now I can hear.
Yeah. So
Okay.
he's okay to the listeners. What
This
am I
is
telling
better.
you? He's subtly pulling away from the microphone, and you all are going to write in the comments.
Yes.
The volumes were dropping, and ZD was making a good point.
The last time we did a thing in this place,
I fucked it up.
Well, you put it up without me compressing it, but the truth is people lost their shit. They were like, guys, this is audio 101. You can't have this and that. And I'm like, yeah, we know.
I know, but I wasn't facing the look. Okay,
Listen,
this
you
is
know
not,
what?
This is not a pro studio here. Okay,
But I'll say this. That's the kind of criticism I appreciate because I'm like, you know
yeah.
what? This is something we can
fix-
control. We
yeah.
can fix it.
Yeah.
Exactly. As opposed to, we don't like the look of you.
you can fix that too.
I can actually. I know plastic surgeons.
Heal you with steel. Okay, wait. So you're coming back about the question of like, is there excess cardiac? Okay.
Is there excess young person cardiac sudden death relative to previous years when there wasn't an mRNA vaccine?
Well, where are the data?
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think we'll back up a few things. One thing to say is when people talk about excess mortality, of course, it is observed mortality rates minus expected mortality rates. Expected mortality rates, Moses doesn't come down from the mountain and tell us what the expected mortality is. It's an extrapolation based on the age of a population and based on time trends and based on prior years. It's an extrapolation that can be noisy. And then the observed rate is a real thing. It's the people who have actually died. Observed minus expected, which is a modeled phenomenon to some degree.
Yeah.
That's your excess mortality. Now, a number of studies do suggest that there is an increase in excess mortality, particularly in Western Europe, around this time. Now the question is why?
In that age group, you mean?
No. I mean across all age groups. Across age
right.
groups.
Yeah.
Across all age groups. Now the question is why? And I guess putative explanations would be one, the longest of COVIDs.
Oh, so long.
It's so long, and now it's still doing damage.
The COVID is so long and so deep.
It goes right to the brain, you know? It loves the brain. Well, anyway, okay. So, I mean,
it goes to the nose.
But I'm sure some people would think that that's the reason.
Yeah, that is
and
COVID
the
effect.
The tripledemic, which is actually something they've invented. The tripledemic is a media term for normal life.
That's right. For RSV, colds, flu,
which actually do not appear to be any higher than other seasons. Actually, with now that they're all downtrending, so they kind of got to panic about nothing, which is their MO.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so it could be due to that. It could be due to severe disruptions to preventive medicine, hypertension control, lipid control, disruptions to diet and exercise for the 2 years of pandemic where people just sat at home gaining 15 pounds. I mean, that might be a culprit.
Absolutely. Substance abuse.
Substance abuse, alcoholism, depression, not waking up, taking a shower, shaving, and getting to work, like not having,
anxiety-related coronary disease and events,
Okay, so that could be a culprit. Is it possible that there is some iatrogenesis from, other things? Maybe, but no one has made any good faith effort to try to delineate these possibilities.
Right.
And then the other thing is, I gotta say, many of these people who are operating in this space commenting, what do? They're collecting news stories of people who've had sudden cardiac events or events, and they're showing that as if the plural of anecdote is data.
That's right.
And in 2017, there may have been all these news stories that no one was interested in covering.
Totally.
They were no interested in writing them up,
Yep.
and nobody was saving them in a little scrapbook like a lunatic. This is no way to do science.
Yeah.
If you think that this is a real possibility, you need to very carefully get statistical data from a lot of places and run some pretty good analysis and be prepared for the greatest scrutiny of your life. Because honestly, if somebody does a lot of data work, even I would be scared to tackle this. It's not an easy problem.
Yeah, that's the thing. And so neither one of us are saying, oh, it's out of the realm of the possible
Correct.
that this is actually contributing. We're saying it's out of the realm of the possible that the people who are commenting on it know what the fuck they're talking about.
Correct. That's out of the realm of the possible.
And so it's absolutely out of the realm of the possible.
Yeah. Well, and we're two people, maybe me more than you, as we're going to talk about the myocarditis. I'm absolutely sympathetic to the idea that spike protein vaccines can cause cardiac injury. And I'm absolutely sympathetic to the idea that distributions of cardiac injury are not going to be homogenous. It's not going to, quote, always be mild.
Right.
It's going to mostly be mild, but there'll be a tail.
Of course.
And that right tail will include people on pressors, people on Impella, and people who die.
Yeah.
It is guaranteed if you vaccinate enough people, somebody will die as a result of it.
Yes.
Okay, but that's not the same thing as saying that the reason these anecdotes are in the news is because of vaccination.
That's
and they're
right.
not even close to having proven that case.
So your point is do proper science or shut the fuck up. Now, but it's not wrong for them to raise the issue and say, is this a question?
Yes.
If you do it in that way.
It's not wrong to raise the issue,
right,
to try to motivate somebody to study it.
That's right.
But I don't feel that that's what's going on.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And then there's another part. Fuck. Oh, frivolous. Well, look, I'm sorry, audience. I had to keep
He's working.
Yeah, I'm on call. So
Yeah,
well, anyway. So, but this was a frivolous call. You know.
Hey, on call, all calls are frivolous. We know this.
I feel
especially if they're from the ER.
There's only a few people. Well, of course, it'll be my fellow who calls me. So it's like there needs to be a way for the phone to only allow the call from the fellow.
It's got to be a way. You think Apple would allow that in some way, like
Android?
Oh, you're Android, but even still Android. Google.
That's what people say when they put your phone in and text you, and they're like, "Oh, it's blue."
That's
or
right.
what is it,
yeah, green.
Oh, it's
yeah. Whenever I get your texts and they're green, I'm like, I'm sorry, Vinay, I don't speak broke.
You're like, good luck on that YouTube channel. Maybe someday it'll start to make some money. Okay. You're like, maybe someday you'll make a name for yourself, kid. Wait, what were we talking about? The myocarditis?
Myocarditis.
Distribution.
Yes, the distribution of the damage that can happen.
I mean, so that's inevitable. Oh, what these people, why they're raising the thing. I mean, one thing that bothers me about this whole space is you already have a reason to take action in a certain group, and that's young men. What do you need a second reason for? I mean, this is something that baffles me. It's like, look, vaccine policy should be different for a 25-year-old man than an 85-year-old woman. I think Paul Offit would agree.
Yeah.
I think so. I think every rational doctor I know thinks so.
Yeah.
That it should be different. Why? Because of myocarditis.
Yep.
If there was no myocarditis, then maybe you could argue it shouldn't be different. Even then, the upper bound of the benefit would be substantively different. But you could argue that there's less of a reason to make a difference. Now you already have a reason. Searching for an additional reason, I think, is not necessary.
Yeah.
And if you're going to search for it, at least search for it in the right way, which is with aggregate data.
Yeah.
Clipping newspaper clippings and emailing it to me, which I'm not going to look at anyway, you're not helping anybody.
This is like Silence of the Lambs level shit. Like just creepy clippings and like, oh, I'm gonna make
paste it on the wall.
I'm gonna make a lamp out of these stories. Right?
Yeah.
Yarn with like the patterns.
Make a coat out of you.
Oh yeah.
What was it? A coat?
Yeah, it was I think he was making a coat.
A coat.
Yeah.
Sewing it.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh man. I'd F me so hard.
It's so disturbing. And then what about? But the best part about it with Anthony Hopkins.
Oh.
He's like, you're looking for someone who lives alone, probably pretty close to the tracks, and he sits right. He has this whole
He's
thing.
so good.
He profiled him to a T.
To a T, and he was just like, "Can you hear them, Clarice? Do you hear the bleating of the lambs
at night when you go to sleep?" Yeah. I mean, didn't he win the Academy Award for that?
I think so.
I think he won.
He should have gotten 2 Academy Awards for that.
He should have. I mean, his stellar performance.
And a Golden Globe.
They don't make movies like that anymore, do they?
I don't think so. There's a lot of movies they don't make like anything in the 2000s. That was the last era where you could make a movie like Tropic Thunder. Or Step Brothers, or where it was just so
even
outrageous.
Pineapple Express, I think, couldn't be made today.
Could not be made today.
And Superbad, I think, would be
it'd be
canceled.
unmakeable.
Yeah, and the moment you
The Hangover.
Well, okay, so comedy, of course, is in the gutter. But then, what's the explanation for drama?
Great question. I think people have just now. Where are they getting drama? TikTok. So their attention.
Although I watched an interesting movie you like, Nicolas Cage, Pig.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Have you heard it?
I heard about it.
97%
Dude,
Rotten Tomatoes.
I gotta see it.
You're gonna like it.
I gotta see it.
It's good drama.
Anything with Nicolas Cage, because his kid went to my kid's school in Las Vegas, and so they were in the orchestra together, and so you'd see Nicolas sitting in the audience like, oh, I don't know where I am right now.
When I was in high school, of course, he was on top of the world with The Rock and Con Air. Then his careers, of course, had a little downswing.
Yeah.
But they say the Pig is going to put him back up there.
Like the whale with what's his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Mummy.
Darren. What's his name?
God,
Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser. That's right. Brendan Fraser.
God,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about Darren Aronofsky, who's the director.
Aronofsky produced my friend Peter Attia's consulting series on National Geographic called Limitless with Chris Hemsworth.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was crazy. You watch Peter Attia like coaching Thor on how to live to 90 plus, and I'm like, I'd want to die at like 60. I'm so done.
I just saw somebody. Anyway, wait, let's finish this topic.
Myocarditis.
The sudden cardiac death. I mean, so the question number 1, is there excess death across the globe? Answer, probably yes. Question number 2, is it actually linked to population rates of vaccination? Answer, it doesn't appear that the nations that had higher rates of vaccination have higher rates of excess death. Question number 3, how reliable is excess death? Answer, probably very unreliable. Question number 4, these athletes keep dropping. Is that proof that vaccines are bad? Answer, that's the lowest form of evidence I've ever seen in my life. And, is it worth studying? Sure, but should you be talking about it like this? No. And question number 5 is, did you even need to espouse this to actually say we ought to have different policies around 20-year-olds? The answer is also no. You didn't need this to say that 20-year-olds maybe don't need indefinite vaccination, 1 per year in perpetuity. You already had a basis to say that. So why are you looking for something you don't need?
Brilliant. I think I agree with all that. So that dovetails nicely into your myocarditis paper. What was that about?
And it appears in the European... So you're satisfied with that art? You're satisfied? No complaints?
I everything you said, I agree with. I mean, and I think what it is it's not going to shut people up who are like going to light up the comment section with, why'd you have this shill Z-Dog on who's, denying
actually, you know what the comments are going to say?
When you guys talk about this, why didn't you invite a cardiologist to come?
It's like, look, this isn't it. I mean, look, we barely find time in our 2 schedules. So it's like the sun and the moon have aligned. Now you want me to align Jupiter too? I mean, come on. I get a cardiologist in here. And first of all, where are they going to sit? They sit on my lap.
Exactly. We could get Midlife Crisis in here, and he'd say the same thing.
Yeah, okay, I'm sure he'd say this. And then, but on Twitter, what was it? I was reading was like,
Hey, everybody, I'm a cardiologist, and I want to say that this is a good reminder of the importance of CPR.
I was like, okay, well. And then the thread goes viral, and everyone's trying to like claw on it in some way.
Yep. Virtue signal on some way on
and then somebody was like, what was it? It was like, it's traumatic for all the games should be canceled, and people, I don't know. That was another interesting argument, which was somebody was like, this is an argument once again against American football. And I think that's a very lacking argument because commotio cordis is not, it's a rare event.
Right.
And it is not particularly associated with football.
It's more baseball, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And in part, it has to do with the physics of the blow to the chest.
Right.
This is a blow across what is that?
Precordium, yeah.
And across the shell. That
thingamajig, yeah. The booby cover.
The booby cover, obviously the technical term for
yes,
it.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is different than when I just, when you walked in the door and I just hit you really hard.
Yeah. And then you resuscitated me. That's what was great.
I actually said commotio cordis. That was my blow maneuver. I struck you. You fell to the ground. And what I did was I actually defibrillated him twice. And then I started the chest compression.
Let me just say this. My troponin is higher than my cholesterol right now, just from all the damage.
Well, I got the bivalent booster. I'm in the same spot.
By the way, I love that that's your fucking call out, like when you strike.
Commotio
cordis! It's like your move, man. This is like Mortal Kombat.
The problem with the move is that probably like 999 times out of 1,000, it doesn't do anything.
Cordis you.
They're just like, screw you. They hit you back twice as hard
in the face, right? Now you have a concussion, right?
I should have said it.
Damn it, commotio cordis. But the thing is, if you don't say commotio cordis, it almost never works. You have to say it, obviously. Yeah. And I bet. I'm sure in martial arts, someone has figured out how to deliver just the right blow. The problem is you can't get it at the right part of the cardiac cycle. You have to have them on a monitor.
No, of course. I look at your iWatch, and just as I say, boom, my gosh, I saw that iWatch.
Like QRST.
That's why I keep you on that iWatch. Yeah. You're like, oh, here's a gift, Z. It's an iWatch.
Thanks for the Apple Watch.
Yeah.
Dude, look, and it's even got my whole thing. Ow. Oh, now I'm in asystole.
But it seems like it's synced with your phone. Gotcha. All right, now we talk about my paper.
All right. So your paper. Do you need to take a sip of the potion there?
I do.
What is it? That cognac? Caffeine.
It's just straight cognac.
Oh, I want to say something while you're drinking that. So this idea of like we're all a bunch of pussies now, I think is a real thing. So when the storms came through California, and they're a big deal, like a lot of flooding and stuff, but
it's really rough out here because sometimes it does rain.
It rains. And this is what happened. Schools in Woodside and other parts of
throw their hands in the air.
These super rich schools, they were like, we're canceling school for the next 3 days. It's fucking rain.
No, they say that with all these wet N95s, how can we do it? How can we do it with a wet N95?
This is not going to work. Oh, my God. Yeah, they were canceling school for like a little rain. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
I'm born and raised in Chicago. You get in the Chicago area, and you get like 10 inches of snow, and they're like, oh, well, it's time to see you tomorrow at school at 7:15.
It's at 7:15.
Yeah, yep. And then I'd be out there in the frigid, and when my old man used to go, and he'd start all the cars. Oh. Well, first of all, we live in a car, so we had at least 3 cars. My mom, me. Okay, as we start all the cars, he'd leave them running, and then you'd come out 20 minutes later and still frozen stiff, and then you'd scrape like a little window in this thing and drive it like a tank. Like all you could see is this little slit.
That's
and then
awesome.
we'd still go to school. Then I, lived in Portland for a few years. In Portland, they get a little whisper of snow, and they say, "Oh God, we can't salt the roads. What about the salmon? The salmons will get salty when they come in, and they can't take it." And so we don't salt it, and then the whole town shuts down. Okay, with the snow.
yeah.
Then you come here, and it's like,
Oh my God.
the rains come.
God, it's foggy.
It's foggy.
They
yeah.
canceled every flight at SFO.
all the freeways are all red
They're all, yeah.
because it's fog. And in LA, it's just a little mist, and it's all red.
It's all red. Everything just backs up. Yeah, it's really quite remarkable, the difference. When I was growing up in the Central Valley of California, we had something called foggy day schedule. So they get that Thule fog, and it was so bad you couldn't see your hand in front of your face.
That bad?
That bad. And the buses would be running, right? So they would they'd never cancel school. They would delay it. So you'd get a morning
2-hour delay.
couple 2-hour delay.
We had some of those.
Even that would only happen if it was like cataclysmic. Like you couldn't see your finger here. And you'd watch, the way you'd find out whether it was a foggy day schedule is the kids would wake up at 4 and they'd watch this ticker scroll
on the bottom of the TV.
At the bottom of the TV, and it would say Clovis Unified School District, and you're like, oh yes, yeah.
Oh, I remember.
Huge dopamine burst.
So I would watch for the snow days. Every once in a while, you get like a foot of snow or more at night, and there's a possibility of a snow day, or at least a 2-hour delay. And it was like I would wake up at 6 o'clock. I'd watch the TV, and I'd see that little black leg. It was like LaPorte High School, 2-hour delay. I was like, yes. Like, I never feel that good anymore.
Never. They've sucked the joy out of life by giving it to everybody. It's like, school's canceled for a year because of COVID.
As you get older, there's nothing that reaches the same height as that 2-hour delay when you're a kid. There's nothing.
It's true. That's why I keep up to escalating my various drug use.
I mean, that's why you use so much heroin.
Totally.
Right.
I mean, I'm like smoking ayahuasca now. I just smoke it. You're not even supposed to do that.
You're just chasing the original experience
Chasing the dragon. Yeah.
of that school ticker. Okay, the myocarditis.
myocarditis.
Okay, European Journal of Clinical Investigation.
Yes.
Benjamin Knudsen, he's a second-year student, medical student at George Washington University, came to me about 2 years ago, joined our research team. He's working on a lot of projects. He's got some cool ones coming that I don't want to tell people yet because they're so fun. Very smart guy. And we were talking about myocarditis, and we see that there are a lot of pundits who tweet things like, myocarditis only occurs 1 in 100,000 people, ergo it's dismissible, ergo virus worse, ergo boost. I mean, that's the gist of what they're saying. And then you look at that statistic, and what they do is they take all the cases of myocarditis divided by all the people vaccinated. But they include an 85-year-old woman and a 25-year-old man. And we thought that's pretty stupid. You have to be dropped on your head to think that an aggregate statistic for the population makes sense like that. What's the risk of breast cancer in women and in men?
In men, yeah.
Men do get it, but much less than women. So one can imagine that there would be a different program, say for instance mammography, in women than in men. You could imagine such differences. But these people were doing this. So what he did was he got every single analysis of myocarditis ever done. And he says there's at least 4 stratifiers. 1, age. 2, sex. 3, did you get Pfizer or Moderna? And 4, was it dose 1 or dose 2 or dose 3?
Right.
Okay. And he asks, how many times do a study report it with the 4 stratifiers? So 16 to 18, Pfizer, dose 1, and then 16 to 18, Moderna, dose 2, separated that. How many times do they just use 3? So they just say dose 1, dose 2, but they don't say Pfizer, Moderna, for instance. Okay. How many times do they just use 2? Like age and sex, but they don't tell you which product, and they just lump the doses together. And how many times did you just use 1 or less, where they're just looking at the whole population? And he collects all these studies, and he finds, the breakdown, and I forget off the top of my head, but it's like a quarter, 20%, something. Okay, 40% are like just using 1 stratifier, which is pretty piss poor.
That's terrible.
And then he proves mathematically that if you actually provide the proper statistic to the men in the right demographic, it is much higher than if you lump everyone together, which should have been published in the Journal of Obvious Things.
New England of Journal of Duh.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
New England Journal of Duh.
Right.
But it is an important finding. And literally what he's proving is a way to mask a safety signal, to hide a safety signal, to provide one-size-fits-all medicine when you really need personalized medicine is to ignore these important differences. Mm-hmm. And so we published our paper, and it's a good paper, I think.
That is great because it's a paper about other data, like what we're doing wrong, which is your expertise.
Meta research.
But this is not a meta-analysis.
No, it's not. It's an umbrella analysis of meta-analysis. No, it's an umbrella analysis of independent analyses.
Got it. Under my umbrella, Ella. Actually, I can't sing that because if you even sing a piece of it badly, YouTube's copyright algorithm will pull the whole thing. And
really,
yeah.
I heard they have some new thing that if you swear in the first 1 minute, they demonetize you or something.
Dude, we're fucked.
I think we waited.
Well, no, we waited.
And also, we're not supposed to swear for the other
I
issue.
know. But you know, I'm starting not to care about that. And the reason is I'm like, there's a minority of people that are upset and they listen with their kids, and I'm sorry about that. But there's also me.
For my cough. I don't have a cough. I don't have a cough drop.
You don't have one?
No, I don't. I mean, am I feeling like I'm going to cough? No, but the sweet, soothing lozenge is good.
Those are really good.
Yeah.
I actually would look forward to like feeling bad so that I could have those Ricolas.
Ricola.
We got done. Sorry.
We're done.
Whoever Swedish people that run Ricola are.
Swiss.
Oh, they're Swiss? Oh, yeah. They're like, look at him. They did it now. We have all the money from the podcast. We've taken all of it.
It's like $1.52.
Yeah, $1.52 to the Swiss, please. After the conversion to euros, it's like pie.
And then you watch them throw a coin in a big, huge sea of coins.
Like Scrooge McDuck is diving in and swimming. Life is like a hurricane here in Switzerland.
Oh, you remember DuckTales?
Oh, dude, DuckTales is
was great.
A masterpiece of terrible cartoon.
I always imagined you could swim through coins. Now I quickly know the reality of
the density of human flesh versus coin.
Versus coin, yeah.
But you know that he was a duck, so maybe they have a slightly more
oily feathers.
The oily feathers.
Yeah, right.
That he just slide right through.
But you wax yourself every day.
Oh, cute day.
Cute BID. Even.
Cute, sometimes BID when I'm feeling the frictional coefficient rising.
I say right against the clothing.
You know, that was one thing like Doc Vader commented on because they keep saying, you know, you do not know the power of the dark side. And it's like, but this is a solvable issue. You could determine the power of the dark side through a series of calculations at standard temperature and pressure.
That's true.
Separated by one man length at certain distance. You could say, okay, no, actually the power of the dark side is 732 megajoules per square inch.
Or you could just clip obituaries of athletes who passed away and paste them into a macabre scrapbook.
And that's 100
and call it science.
That's 100,000 megajoules of dark side science. Dark science. That's good.
It's dark science.
I like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I find it odd that anyone says that these obituaries validate their point of view.
Yeah,
what does it validates like. Anyway.
You know, it's the same. Sorry, let me pull up our list of things. It's our same.
I'm sick of this.
It's kind of the same approach that like the kind of really cult level anti-vax people prior to COVID would use when there'd be an anecdotal story of like a young girl in a wheelchair, and they'd say, "Well, that was the HPV vaccine." And that was their MO, and they're just kind of translating it.
You know, there's also the cult of the anti-vaxxer. Here's what they like to say. Here's what they like to say. You know, I got all the boosters. Okay, I got the last one. Then I got COVID. And if I hadn't gotten that last booster, you know, it would have been worse.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant.
There was like,
where did you determine this
Yeah,
data?
exactly. Where's the counterfactual that it would have been worse had you not gotten it? You've made that. That's also a deranged anti-science view that you have concocted because you're a deranged cultist of the anti-vax.
Those people have gotten so out of control. I can't even the same people that would have reached out and been like, hey, can you do a vaccine awareness video for this vaccine? And now I'm like, I'm not even talking to you people because you're so deranged.
You're anti-vax.
I'm just going to talk truth. Yeah.
But you know, it's just because like, I think it is that many people are longing for sort of a moral sense in their life. You know, it's not enough to do things. You want to do virtuous things.
That's right.
And if you don't have God and you don't have religion, and you know, and in America, that's I think largely true for many people.
Yes.
You know, you've made a religion out of anti-vax.
Yes.
Out of wokeism.
Yes.
I mean, that is sort of a religious
out of
kind
nutrition.
Out of nutrition.
Like, I'm a keto guy or I'm a vegan guy or whatever. Yeah.
Oh,
it's true. It's the meaning
Can't
crisis.
believe you eat multiple time restricted. I'm 2 to 3:30.
You know what? You violated the sanctity of the temple by having 30 grams of protein instead of 29.
I couldn't imagine even counting that. Like I have time to count that,
dude. And you know, I finally took off my continuous glucose monitor after learning everything I needed to know, which is, guess what? I can't eat a bag of sweets and expect my sugar to be normal.
You took it off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we wore it for about a month.
You wore it for a month?
Yeah, it was fun. Actually, it becomes addictive because of that same thing. You're trying to find meaning in eating. You're like, oh, so if I have a big bowl of pasta, my sugar peaks at midnight, and that's when I'm having bad dreams. Therefore, my bad dreams may be influenced by sugar levels. Let me test the next day where I don't do that. And I'm like, yeah, lo and behold, I have agitated dreams when my sugar is high in the middle of the night. Who cares? If the agitated dreams don't bother me, I actually love agitated dreams. And I wake up all dysphoric.
You made progress.
Yeah, I've done something.
But maybe it's something that happened to track with that, like it's the salt of the food.
Exactly right. I mean,
I
as a scientist, you know that is not enough data to make any determination. And there's the placebo effect.
But a scrapbook of anecdotes about athletes is enough data.
Is key. is beautiful.
That's the gold standard of the pyramid.
That's the meaning crisis.
Meta-analysis of randomized trials, number 2.
Yep.
And number 3,
Yep.
retrospective observational studies.
Well, it's the same. It's the Covidiot religions.
Yeah.
They're religions. Yeah.
What's our next topic?
Next up is the FDA
You've bored me.
advisory committee. You bore me, sir. MoveOn.org.
You bored me. Oh, yes, the FDA advisory committee.
Yes.
This
So
is a CNN article today.
CNN article today. Our good friend Paul Offit in there.
The last man with
Integrity.
integrity and intelligence. He has
That's
both.
the thing.
He's got
Yeah.
integrity and intelligence.
Yeah. Some have one or the other.
Yeah.
Often the intelligence does not go with integrity.
Some have neither.
Yeah. That most
have neither.
have neither.
Most have neither.
Most have neither.
Most have neither integrity nor intelligence. Some have one or the other.
Yes. I have half of both.
You have half of both.
Half of both. I'm very precise.
Probably the most dangerous combo is intelligence without integrity.
Yeah, that's most dangerous, and that's I think the majority of people on big names on Twitter.
Yes, intelligence without integrity.
Yes. Yeah, smart people.
Twitter, and podcaster. Another point about podcasts. And tell me, we both have done this to some degree. You always have to have guests.
Yes.
But to me, I sometimes just get sick of a podcast that the only thing they ever do on it is the same host and then the guest.
I agree.
You know, like you do a lot of fun shows that is just monologue, 50 minutes
of me just
extemporaneous
talking
speaking.
shit. Yeah.
And I do a lot where, in fact, these days, the majority, I'll talk about a trial for an hour, a half hour, something like that. And then you and I are doing a show, but it's always the two of us.
Right.
And we have brought in sometimes, maybe we'll bring in the future, but that's not our
Right. Rita Redberg,
Yeah.
Marty McCary. Yeah.
I mean, we have to vet them.
Yeah, we have to vet them like severely.
Severely vetting.
Yeah.
Yes. Why? Because they're vetting them for the being boring. They could be boring.
Because what'll happen is, they will bore us acutely, and then
It's a shit show.
It's a shit show. Then it's just
show.
the Z and VP show again because we're going to ignore them.
But it would be worse if it was just like if you interview a bad guest. That to me is the worst podcast imaginable. No offense to you.
No, you're right.
You can't save it.
You can't save it. And in fact, those get worse views than any monologue I could do.
They get.
I could talk about my pants and get more views because people know, well, at least he's being authentic about his freaking trousers. But when you watch me trying to interview someone that sucks, it is like I was poking my eyes out to do the interview, poking my eyes out to edit it, and watching it back going, this is garbage and I wish I couldn't release it. And then, but it's rare that happens. But when it does, I'm like, I know it. I'm like,
well,
this is
I'll
trash.
tell you, the thing that gets me the most angry is like I'm like listening to something and I was like, sometimes what I want to listen to is, no offense, don't think I'm crazy, but I want to listen to like 1 hour on breast oncology. I want to listen to 1 hour on kidney cancer.
I like breasts. Yeah. Mostly male breasts.
Oncology.
Oh, well, now you've sullied it. Okay.
Yeah, I like to listen to like I want to learn about the new drug, or, the new trials, and like for my professional work. Okay,
course.
so I'm interested. Then a show will be something like on today's episode we're gonna interview the expert. Okay, question number 1: how do you manage frontline RCC? And then they say, well, that's a really good question, and obviously it's a dynamic landscape. And the field is changing very rapidly. Thankfully, we have an abundance of riches. They say, something. They'll literally say some shit like, and you're like, oh, the median survival is still, it's an incurable disease, and people are dying, and it's an abundance of riches. Like we've had a few game changers. A game changer improves survival 1 month. Okay, then they say their answer. Their answer is like, it's always something to this effect. It's like, whenever possible, we're going to use newer medications that have less safety data and have used surrogate endpoints and lousy studies, and that's how I practice. And then the host will say, thank you. Now let's talk about second line. I was like, now second line? Why don't you push back? Push back. This is the craziest thing I've ever heard. They're misusing the drugs. The trial is weak. What about the post-progression therapy? There's all these problems. They are oblivious to all of this. And your answer is, let's just move to the next topic. Push back. Push back. And if you're not going to push back, why the fuck do you have him on your show? What are you doing? You're putting out trash into the world. I was like, this show is garbage. I want to listen, and I want to go. And I was like, and then I have to make my own show just to do a monologue, just to sort of hope in the universe there'll be some clarity on this issue. So this is what bothers me.
Well, what I was thinking while you're ranting, because you and I agree on this stuff, it's just like, yeah, fuck, why even bother? You're wasting my time. Time is the only thing that I can't get back ever. It's so ephemeral, and yet here I am wasting time talking to somebody or listening to something that's just total trash, and the host is garbage and the guest is garbage, and they're doing this game that in medicine is so common. It's like, oh, we're so conditioned to like be very careful. It's like the we were talking about starting up with Obama.
You speak carefully.
That's right. Make no mistake.
Yeah.
There is an abundance of riches
in the art
CC space.
Yeah, but at the same time, the actual content can be egregiously off.
Totally.
I'll give you one example. Okay, so they run this randomized controlled trial in myeloma. It's a drug that was approved on the basis of an uncontrolled study, so it's like, dubious, and has this confirmatory study. Confirmatory study, the company picks a control arm that is the weakest control arm on the product, on the market. Like the literally the worst thing you could give somebody that the FDA says is still acceptable to us. But it's not what I would do in my practice. It's like delinquent care. It's a superiority study. They have to prove the new drug is better than this antiquated, depleted, unethical control arm. It's the lowest of regulatory bars. They fail to achieve superiority.
Even with that,
the drug is pulled off the market. Then I hear people on the podcast, that's what they say. Even though it didn't improve survival, it did show the drug worked just as well. And I was like, no, I'm sorry. And then the host says nothing. To say a drug works just as well, you need to do a non-inferiority or equivalent study design. And your sample size will need to be 7 times larger, and the confidence interval will have to be so tight that you park the lower bound of the confidence interval above the margin of what you think is an unacceptable loss of efficacy. You have to really, really show that they're about the same, which will be a whole different study. And doesn't this person who claims to be a trialist, are they not aware of this fact? They're just saying lies. It's just a lie. And it's a lie that conveniently benefits the manufacturer of the product. And no one is calling out the lie. And so my head is exploding. I'm about to crash my car, and I'm like, well, anyway, this is my experience with podcasts.
So everything you just said applies exactly to bring back to the topic we were talking about, which is Paul Offit getting angry that the FDA, and this was common sense, Moderna had human data on the bivalent vaccine.
Yes.
And this human data, interestingly and inconveniently, showed that infections were actually, and there was no evidence of statistical significance one way or the other.
But numerically, they were higher.
They were higher infections in the bivalent
group. Yeah.
And so, but the FDA advisory committee was not shown this data when they made the decision.
It was intentionally withheld from them.
Yes.
Intentionally. By the FDA and the White House.
Yep.
I mean, the White House has its hand so far up the FDA's puppet sleeve that it's really the White House. And with Marion Gruber and Phil Krause out of the FDA, the White House is really orchestrating all these decisions. Peter Marks is the tip of the spear, but the handle of the spear is the Shisha and White House, probably Vivek and Ron Klein and others in the White House. Okay, this is a key issue. These bivalent boosters received emergency use authorization. The first problem with that is that they claim there's still an emergency, which I don't think there is one.
Right.
The second, but they have to claim there's an emergency to utilize the lower regulatory standard.
Right.
They claim there's an emergency. They use the lower regulatory standard. They use 8 or 12 mice. I think the Moderna was slightly more mice.
Right.
They had a few more mice.
Yeah, 12 plus 1.
Tommy and Daisy joined the mice pool. And they show that they can generate antibodies against both the original parental strain and the
immunogenicity
against BA.4/5, the sort of truncal clone by the vaccine. Moderna had human data, and their own human data, although limited and although not a perfectly clean study, their own human data suggested that the bivalent booster had a higher rate of actual infection than the original monovalent booster.
Yep.
And the reason it's important is that had they seen the data, they might have said, whoa.
Yeah.
They might have said, whoa, maybe the assumptions we're making that antibodies are destiny are uncertain assumptions, and we should actually ask for some more data before we authorize this to hundreds of millions of people.
That's right, because we had a third dose that actually was there. It was produced. Instead, we spent $5 billion US dollars on this Omicron bivalent booster that only 14% of the population eligible to get it has gotten.
Correct, because nobody wants it. Because they're
smart. They're smart. And people like Paul Offit saying, I wouldn't get this because I already have protection against severe disease. I've been infected. I've been boosted. I've been vaccinated. I'm good.
I wouldn't get it.
I haven't gotten it. I got the 3 doses and I'm done.
But I have to sign this thing. There's like some form going around in the UC system. It's like if you choose not to get the bivalent booster, you have to sign a form. And the form is like, number 1, you have to acknowledge. I acknowledge that 1 in 5 people who have had COVID develop long COVID.
Oh my God.
No, you have to sign
This
that.
is like a propaganda machine of like, I sign on to the ideology here.
I have to sign like a lie. Just a lie. It's a lie. I know the data's bad. I have to sign that lie. And then the second one was like, Anthony Fauci's our Lord and Savior. No, that's Anthony Fauci's our Lord and Savior. And then it said, if somebody got a Moderna booster and then they developed myocarditis, it was the ivermectin they took.
No, sorry, the horse tranquilizer. The horse tranquilizer.
The dewormer.
Dewormer.
Yeah.
Horse dewormer. Right.
You took horse tranquilizer before
I did.
the show.
I took that, but that was just I snort that because it wakes me up.
That's for the PTSD. Doesn't it work on PT?
It's PTSD from having long COVID read to me. And having to sign that. I have PTSD from having
from the
to sign
document.
that document.
Of course, from DocuSign.
Actually, from just you telling me about the document. I have pre-TSD.
Pre-TSD.
Like, I'm going to go home tonight and develop full-blown PTSD.
Pre-TSD, yeah.
Right.
So there is this.
So Paul Offit was quoted in the CNN piece saying,
Yeah,
I'm very angry. Like, this is not how you do things. And
Eric Rubin, the editor-in-chief of the New England Journal, he said something like, we're not children.
Yeah.
We can have this information. We know how to think about it.
Right, because this is what the FDA or the government said was the reason why they didn't give that information to the committee. They said, it's a low-quality trial, that's small numbers of people, and we just didn't think it was just going to be confusing.
The only low-quality data they have to see is the low-quality mouse data.
All their other data.
Yeah, all the other data.
All their other
That's
data.
the low-quality data they need.
Come on.
You know the bullshit. You're bullshitting me because here's what you're doing. You wanted to authorize the bivalent booster. You had decided you wanted to do it because Albert Bourla whispered in your ear while he was, who knows what else he was doing. But he whispered in your ear about how wonderful it was. You wanted to spend $5 billion and you wanted to ram it down the throat of the American people. And this whole meeting was a facade to achieve your goal with at least some nod to the usual processes. You put so much pressure on the two career regulators that they quit. You already did that. And you're just ramming things through. And so rather than acknowledging that, that's why you're selectively presenting information, you are telling some bullshit story after the fact.
And there was right along those lines, there was another official in this piece quoted as saying, well, the thing is, it might be that, they had more infections in the bivalent booster, but what we really care about is severe disease.
That's what
So we say that too.
So run the randomized trial with that as the primary endpoint.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
because because we have no evidence that even booster 1 in a young person has any of that benefit.
And even in the older people, I think you could quibble about the evidence, but in the younger person, I think there's absolutely no evidence. And we just saw this claret from Israel. It's their healthcare system. They've published observational data on bivalent booster efficacy against hospitalizations and deaths in elderly people. And there are many problems with the study. I mean, it's an observational study, so it's biased by who are the people going to seek it out? It's like people healthier, wealthier, and wise. That's the healthy vaccinee effect. That's going to be built in. They don't share other endpoints that could falsify the data, like all-cause mortality, et cetera. They're only showing you the endpoints they want you to show. They're playing games with censoring in the first 7 days. I won't bore you with that. But one of the facts of the study is that even assuming the study at face value is valid, the risk of hospitalization for an older person who didn't get bivalent booster was 0.0013% over the course of the study. And so what we're saying is that an older person, the most vulnerable person out there, has 0.0013% risk of the event at baseline if they were to do nothing. What do you think that risk is in a 6-year-old? What do you think it is in a 20-year-old? Toss in a few more zeros. Toss in a lot more zeros. And then once you've established that risk, what is the difference? What's the delta that the booster is going to get you? And it's as low as it ever comes. It can't get any lower.
Vinay, can you sign this piece of paper that says you understand that 1 in 5 people who get infected with COVID will develop long COVID?
And you need to sign this paper that says if you develop long COVID, your penis is going to shrink.
Oh, what? Finally. I've been looking for that because it's just...
That's a feature, not a bug.
It's a feature. It's a feature. Yeah, it's a feature, not a bug.
But that's something that these people say. And then what else do they say? They say, 1 in 5... why do I think that's ridiculous? It's ridiculous at face value. Now that everyone has had COVID, can anyone possibly say that 1 in 5 people are suffering from the throes of long COVID? It's impossible to say.
There's the people, okay, and the data on long COVID is a mess as it is, as you say, but there is this association with pre-existing anxiety, depression, etc.
I know. I'm going to cover that paper on my channel. I just made the slide deck, but I haven't fully gotten to
Oh, cool, yeah. So we'll wait for you to dig into
Are you going to watch it?
Dude, I don't watch anything ever until you tell me to watch it, and then I watch all of it. Then I go down the Vinay Prasad rabbit hole.
Are you a subscriber to my channel?
Yeah.
Did you smash that like button?
I smashed the like button, which, by the way, you guys should do right now.
Yes, smash that like button.
And for the podcast listeners, you need to subscribe and leave a review. It helps us a lot. And listen to any ads we put on because it supports our show.
That's right. You better, and I don't hear any complaints. I listen to probably 50% of your stuff.
Oh, that's amazing. But I put out a lot less stuff than you.
Well, okay, that's true. And I mean, but I think it's difficult to listen to 100% of anybody.
Yeah, that's true. You know what I hate though is all my fans keep sharing your videos with me.
What do you mean to share them with you?
You know, they go, Z, have you seen this? Vinay said this, and I look at it and I go, yeah, I watched the first 5 minutes, and I'm like, dude, the guy's on fire as always.
Oh, okay.
Like,
that's
I mean,
nice.
yeah. I'm like, yeah. That's where I learn all my COVID now. I just watch.
I have a good friend, and he's like, I was like, oh, you watch my video? He's like, I don't need to watch your video. I said, well, why don't you need to watch my video? He's like, I talk to you, so I know what you're gonna say on every topic, and your video just confirms that I've already known what you're gonna say.
Exactly.
And he's like, I've known you for so long. I know how you think about anything.
Yeah.
And I see something in the news, and I know what you're gonna say already.
Yeah.
And I see this 20 steps, and you're probably getting the same point.
Part of it too is I wait to do a VPZD where you spring the stuff on me for the first time.
Yeah, that's the fun.
Because then it's fun. Because then it's like, oh, you've been thinking about it, and now I have to think about it. And I'm again 50% intelligence, 50% integrity,
50%
half
of
both levels
Half
of
of
both.
both.
So it's kind of fun. It's like watching someone with a disability, an intellectual disability, try to work through it.
Often is 100% of both.
Yes.
And the people who didn't share that information with the committee, they're 75% intelligent and 0% integrity.
Yeah, or maybe minus if there's a negative integrity.
Negative integrity.
Yeah, they're actually actively evil.
If you're a politician, you're already in the negatives.
That's true.
And if you're somebody who works for a politician, you're probably even more negative.
You're probably even more. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
You're the fixer.
Now, let me see here. So, so we talked about sudden death by myocarditis, FDA, Congress, and Biogen.
Oh,
Yeah.
Congress and Biogen.
Yes, Biogen, the makers of Aduhelm.
Aduhelm.
Yes. Did you?
Aducanumab.
Can you remember the drug's name? If you can, you don't need it.
You qualify for it.
Yeah, you qualify
you
for
qualify.
it. We'll pay for it.
Ask your doctor about aducanumab, and if you forget to, you should already be on it. Biogen. So obviously, this was a controversial approval for this Alzheimer's drug that I think we've talked about before on the show that has garbage data.
Yep.
It received a negative vote from the advisory committee, a different advisory committee, but an advisory committee of the FDA. It was approved nevertheless, despite a negative vote, which led Congress to commission an investigation of the FDA's actions around this product. And Congress revealed remarkable inconsistencies and lapses in that relationship, including, in one instance, the most glaring instance, that the FDA helped Biogen prepare their materials for the advisory meeting. They were coaching them and helping them prepare documents for the advisory meeting.
Who are these people?
They're in bed with Biogen.
Yeah.
They're in bed with Biogen. And here's the other thing, Z. Why do we know this about this one drug? Because they investigated it. And all the other drugs we're not investigating. We're not investigating.
Dude.
So you look for your keys under the lamp because that's where the light is. And if there's no light anywhere else, you don't know what you're stepping in.
Dude.
That's San Francisco.
This is, and again, it goes right back to everything that's been going on in COVID. Anything Alex Borla's promoting, you just start to question. You go,
Albert.
Oh, Albert. What did I call him?
Alex
Borla.
Alex Borla.
That sounds like the host of Indian Jeopardy.
And then Bob Califf had this thing about the committee, about this report. He said, quote, there were no surprises in this report. And I was like, you knew you were running a corrupt department, dude? I was like, if you're not surprised, like imagine there's like, a new report finds remarkable inconsistencies and egregious breaches of trust. It's like, nothing was surprising about
But
it.
he wasn't surprised.
He wasn't surprised.
Yeah, right. That's
Yeah.
what he meant.
I'm not
He's being
surprised.
honest. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, don't get me started on him. He's got this big axe to grind about misinformation. He's always on there. He's like, the number one killer in America is misinformation. And then he was like, and then his next tweet is like, take your Paxlovid because it might lower the risk of long COVID. I was like, dude, that's misinformation. You don't have data to support that claim. What are you talking about? You're the purveyor of misinformation. Yeah.
This, I don't know. We're in a post-truth apocalypse, man.
Yeah.
Nothing is.
The only place you'll get anything reasonable is VPZD.
And I'm tripling down on that statement. You know, subscribe, smash that like button.
Smash that like button. Tell a friend. Actually, what about email a friend?
Email a friend. Yeah.
Force them to watch it.
Yep. Tell your Force Ghost mentor.
Do to your friend what the FDA didn't do to the advisory committee. Give them the information.
Oh,
give them the information.
Look at you. You did it. Now, speaking of doing it, I said I would talk. I promised my dad. My dad texts me by WhatsApp.
I see.
Because that's what he does.
Uh-huh.
Text me by WhatsApp.
Of course.
And he said,
universal choice of
Indian
elderly.
men. Indian elderly men.
Indian elderly,
yes.
yeah.
And he said, talk about this.
Oh, yes. We got to do that.
And
Let's
it was
talk about
expiring medication. So he was told when he left the hospital, he had these expensive inhalers that they bought, and they wouldn't give them to him because they said these are expiring shortly. And
now he's going to say this to you. He's going to say, why do you wait 1.5 hours to start talking about this? You make me less than 1.5 hours.
You 1.5 hours of idle chit chat.
And then
you talk about the only thing that matters, which is the expiring medication. It's totally.
I ask you to do something. You do everything else.
Everything else.
Everything else.
Everything
Then
else.
finally you get bored.
Christmas comes, and he's like, send some stuff of the kids playing music. So the two daughters, we do this huge thing. I put it on YouTube. We're doing. It's beginning to look a lot like sepsis, and they're playing violin.
And you're wearing your sweater.
I'm wearing my sweater vest, and we're doing the whole thing. And he texts back on WhatsApp. But do they play the ukulele? I'm like, that's classic, dude.
It's classic.
That is classic.
So he's gonna be pissed with you, but maybe you send him. You cut.
I'll
this
cut
clip
it out.
Yeah,
I'll cut
this
it
clip
out.
out.
I'll
Send it.
cut it
Okay,
out.
so what are we talking about? Expired meds.
Expired meds. Do medications actually expire and lose potency in a way that's significant so that, or is it just they put an expiration date like on food so that you'll just go buy more?
Yeah, so I guess a few years ago, I think this really was in vogue, and there was a lot of chemical studies done by, I think there's a pharmacist group in, I'm thinking Canada, if it's coming off the top of my mind, and I should have prepared more by actually pulling
I just sprung this on you. Mid-talk,
It's okay, that's life. But so if I recall, I think these are the basic facts that, one, obviously, the commercial manufacturer has a vested interest in having a early and quick expiration date, so that you will pitch it and buy more of the product.
Yep.
Okay, so that's their incentive. Two, that for most household over-the-counter compounds, when they pass the expiration date, they have lost some of the active ingredient, but they typically retain a huge chunk of the active ingredient's potency, maybe like 80, 90%, and ergo can be used and still work pretty well.
Yeah.
And so I do think the expiration date is mostly... marketing, mostly just getting you to throw it out for no reason.
Right. But not 100%. It's kind of a nuanced gray. Like, do you need 100% potency to have it have the effect that you want, or are you in danger in some way? And I guess it varies per medication. Yeah? So there's certain meds where you could probably say, well, like PO Tylenol is probably not.
Or if you're taking 600 milligrams of Advil and they're 200 milligram tablets,
right?
You're going to be between 400 and 600. Probably.
Yeah, you're going to be fine. So,
like, even if it lost some efficacy.
Yeah. Now it is something I suppose it'd be an extra history taking element. If someone's failing their heart failure drugs, you could ask, hey, let me look at the actual drug you're taking and see how expired it is, and say, oh, maybe there is a loss of potency before we go increasing the dose. But even that, I mean, how do you even start to investigate?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But I do think it probably happens more for over-the-counter than for a prescription, because you would have had to be refilling it along the way.
That's true. That's true. Now, some people will take a drug and they'll keep it there, like inhalers.
Vicodin.
They don't use in their PRN.
Like your cupboard of Vicodin.
That's right. My cupboard of Vicodin
that
I took for my wife's pregnancy.
Yeah.
Well, my wife's pregnancy. She's like, I don't need this. I'm like, but I do. Yeah. Exactly.
Like, I'm back on my feet. You're like, I'm not.
I haven't stooled in 2 weeks, but I love that stooled as a verb is a great
stooled. Yeah, and then you're like, but my pain score is 0.
It's 0.
And
it's minus.
Yeah,
actually, no, it's
face.
still 9 because I have this rebound. I have opioid hyperalgia. Hypersensitivity.
Long opioid.
Long opioid.
Yeah,
I have long Vicodin.
Yeah, long Vicodin, of course.
I have long. The only thing that helps me starts with a D. Long dilaudid.
Oh, no, yeah. What is that? What is that? I always forget it.
Diclofenac? No, it's not that. No,
I don't think it's the NSAID class. So, what medicine is your dad particularly concerned about?
I think it was one of his fancy inhalers that he uses PRN.
I see.
And that's why it was expiring, because it was only PRN, but he doesn't want to go refill it, or they wouldn't even give it to him from the hospital.
What, does he have asthma?
He has COPD from living in the Central Valley. He doesn't smoke, never smoker.
Interesting. So it also reminds me on a tangent. Isn't there like this 4-arm randomized controlled trial, New England Journal of Asthma? Okay. And it gives people the sham inhaler, albuterol inhaler, acupuncture, and nothing.
Right.
And the first 3 actually make you feel better.
Yep.
But only the albuterol actually changes the FEV1.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you're fixing the number with albuterol,
Yes.
but you're fixing the patient with all the other
all
3.
3. So even an expired inhaler is maybe fixing the patient if it's PRN.
Great. That's a great point.
Maybe.
So it doesn't really matter.
But this was, of course, asthma. We're extrapolating it to COPD.
That's true, which you can't really do.
Well,
because different
doesn't
reactivity.
stop the pulmonologist.
Oh, no.
No, go.
Yeah, there are Q round-the-clock Zopanex in the hospital. The RTs love that.
And now with the triple-demic.
With the triple-demic. Let's talk a little bit about this triple-demic.
Yeah, I wrote that article for the Free Press, which is Barry Weiss's new publication, and it basically argued, like, 1, triple-demic doesn't exist. 2, you just have to make peace with the fact that if you want to live in this world, you're going to get respiratory viruses. And 3, the things we're doing right now are crazy, particularly You know, a number of school districts around this country have reinstituted a mask mandate.
Yes.
For kids.
Nuts.
I mean, and then I see people are upset at Ann Arbor. Look, just have him wear their Biden hat. You know, like, I mean, this is just, let's get over this cliche. Like, you have to be a highly educated, left of center school district like Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
And you have to be, the intelligence, even though they're highly educated, ain't so high.
Right.
And the common sense intelligence is pretty low.
Negative,
Zero.
Yeah. Like, go anywhere in buttfuck Texas, you're going to find higher common sense intelligence.
If you took these people who make these decisions and like just had them put them on a farm for summer to do some real work.
Oh, that'd be a great reality show.
Yeah,
it's a reality show.
It would be called
Liberal on a Farm.
Yeah, it'd be called I'm pro-mask, but I'm working on a farm.
Or just call it Animal Farm.
And then like just waking up early and actually doing like physical labor, and their heads will explode.
Right.
And they'll be like, but you know, I can't do this on Zoom.
But I got a puncture wound from something in the barn. Do I need a tetanus shot?
They'll be like, do you mind not standing so close to me? And it's like, oh, why? I'm worried about COVID. And he's like, but we're outside, dude.
The fragility, man. The fragility.
I mean, there's something seriously wrong with Ann Arbor, because I can't imagine the CDC has issued data that the seroprevalence is 96% in kids.
Yeah.
The hospitals are, I mean, pre-COVID, we have to acknowledge, masking kids for RSV and flu was not a thing.
It's not a thing.
Yeah. It was actively discouraged.
Yeah. Well, this is my buddy, who's a pediatrician and is, liberal dude, Bay Area guy, said, they're just getting overwhelmed with worried calls from parents because kids are getting colds and flus and stuff. And he's like, yeah, welcome to what happens every single year.
Yeah.
This is just
history.
What happens. And that's part of the reason they're so busy too, is like, they're just overwhelming the standard things.
And it's likely not just natural, but also probably good for you to like get over proper colds and flus when you're young.
I mean, I was happy that
build immunity.
Even now, like the first cold I've gotten in 3 years, it lasted about a week, and I was kind of happy. I was like, I needed this like interferon generation. It just feels like it's part of the natural cycle of human life to interact with these organisms. You just have to do it.
You're like, that was totally worth me taking off my N95 in that movie theater.
Watching 3 hours of Avatar 2.
Avatar.
I haven't seen it. My
it.
daughter saw it for her birthday with her friends, and she was like, I fell asleep like probably for 2 hours of it.
Oh, really?
And then they had some like 2-hour scene where they were learning to swim or something, and I was like, but it was in 3D. She's like, yeah, but I took the glasses off because it gave me a headache. I was like, thanks, James Cameron.
And what are the masking etiquette among the youth in the Bay Area?
Oh, this is fascinating. Yeah, my daughter tells me about this stuff.
Yeah,
I'm trying not to out her as an anti-masker because she's not, but she
I am. You can out me.
Yeah, exactly. Her dad is. Yeah, but I'm a pro data person. But she says it's funny in school. Not a lot of kids are wearing them anymore, but some are. And in orchestra, a lot of people still wear them. And but she's the only one in her group that doesn't wear a mask. And so she'll go to the theater without a mask. She won't even bring one. And they're all wearing masks. And then pretty soon they start seeing her and they're like, you know what? And they take their mask off. So there is a social kind of contagion. In the other direction.
Contagion of sanity.
Yes.
Somebody was telling me, I occasionally make some comment like, I saw that guy in the gym. He's like ripped to shreds. He looks like he's 30, and he gets in the sauna and he puts on. Did I tell you this?
No.
Oh, I didn't tell you. Oh, we've been
this sounds so long. Yeah, we haven't talked. Yeah.
So I'm a gym rat.
Yep.
Obviously
visibly.
Obviously.
I mean, me too. Can you tell? I mean, look at this.
If you're on the audio podcast, you'll be grateful.
Yeah. You didn't just see what just happened.
Yeah, you just got yourself a favor.
Yeah.
So obviously
you missed male gynecomastia.
Obviously, I'm a gym rat.
Yeah.
You mean due to the vaccine, of course.
Of course.
Because
Yeah.
that's what.
Yeah, exactly. The vaccine caused gynecomastia.
Must have caused, right? Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Estrogen.
I'm going to clip that and put it in my scrapbook of bad things vaccines do. So, I'm a gym rat, obviously. I'm,
It's clear.
Very clear.
Yeah.
So
even your hair is ripped.
So I'm in there, and every once in a while, I'll go in the sauna, get a good sweat at the end of the workout. It's a good,
How much Staph aureus do you pick up each time?
It's not healing.
This far uncle.
Okay, so I was in there, and people come and go, and most people don't wear masks, and
it's a sauna we're talking about.
It is literally 200 degree Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to be crazy to wear a mask.
Right.
I would think. This guy comes in. He's very fit. looks younger than me. He's holding something in his hand, and it's always kind of alarming when you see somebody who's supposed to only be in towels, you know. He's holding something in his hand, and he sees that there are multiple people in there.
Yeah.
And then he puts it up to his face, and it's duckbill, double red rubber band,
wow.
N95.
No way.
And he puts it on, and I'm just drenched in sweat. The temperature on the thermostat's reading 200 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's not compatible with COVID.
It's not compatible with life.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, well, the temperature may not be compatible with COVID. The mask was never tested or validated in the Kalahari Desert,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So he sits there on the bench, and you just start to see rivulets of sweat falling
Going
into the
into his
mask.
mask.
And it, like, pretty soon it's going to be like Dick Cheney waterboarding a Guantanamo prisoner in here. I mean, he's going to be waterboarded.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Which he deserves to be for such stupidity. Yeah.
does anyone deserve torture?
Well, you know, it's an open question.
Well, it's a self-inflicted. I mean, he's waterboarded himself, really. He's chosen to waterboard himself.
Yes.
So here he is.
I wonder what questions he asks himself when he's waterboarding himself.
Like, what went wrong in my life that led to this decision? So here he is. He's wearing a mask that was never validated for saunas. It's not validated at the temperature. He's pouring rivulets of sweat into it, which will obviously degrade the performance. The temperature in the air may be so hot it will degrade COVID if it's there anyway.
Yep.
I don't know that to be true, but I think there is some, you know,
Yeah,
shitty
yeah,
evidence.
cold air, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Cold, humid.
Right. There's some terrible laboratory evidence.
Right.
But really, what is the point of all this? What is he trying to prove? This is total madness. Anyway, I tweeted this, and then, you know, some people were like, you know, then I tweeted some other things over the few months, and I say, you know, I saw somebody outside in that rainstorm in San Francisco. You know, they're wearing an N95 in the rainstorm.
And that deluge. Yeah.
Deluge, yeah. It was like a river out there. And then somebody was like, you know, instead of judging people, you might want to consider that they're immunocompromised or they have difficulty putting it on and taking it off. And then I was like, yeah, and maybe the people who are taking ivermectin are all suffering from helminth infections. Let's be honest, come on. Maybe they all have helminths too, buddy. No, that's not what's going on. I mean, we have to have some common sense.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not because that they have arthritic hands.
Yeah.
When I see a 20-year-old out there in the rainstorm wearing it, and they can't take it on and off, and that's why they're choosing to keep it on at all times. Just like the ivermectin guy does not actually have helminths, you know, he's taking it for some other reason.
I don't know. Some of these ivermectin guys, though, you wonder. I mean, they look like tapewormy. You know?
And I'm so sick of that. You know, every once I get if I ever see a comment that says something like, you know, you were wrong about early treatment.
I get so many of
I just
these.
block it.
I block them, yeah. I don't block them. I mute them, so I never see them again. And then they don't get the pleasure of knowing that they're blocked.
Well, I want them to have the pleasure.
Oh, you like that? Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
you know, also, the other thing people don't know is, let's say somebody tweets, Z-Dog is an idiot.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say.
Q day for me.
Yeah, and they'll get like 2,000 likes.
Right.
Here's what I'm going to do. Okay, I copy that link.
Yeah.
And I paste it in Tweet Nuker.
Oh.
And I hit enter.
And it blocks everybody who liked it.
Yep.
That's brilliant. This is why all these people are like blocked by VP.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. It's like, no, you liked something that was totally idiotic.
Incredibly malicious towards somebody.
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
actually unproductive and, you know, speaks volumes about who you are as a person, which is a
that's great.
degenerate and doesn't deserve.
Degenerate.
And then the other thing they say is like, oh, blocking me is a freedom of speech issue. No, blocking you is a you're not invited to my dinner party
That's
issue.
right. That's right.
You know, you're allowed to speak at your dinner party.
That's right.
Just don't come to my dinner party.
Don't come to mine. Yeah.
And every once in a while somebody's like, yeah, they're like, and then they're like, why did you block me? And I was like, I don't know who you are, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, you must have liked that tweet.
Yeah.
But I do it for like really malicious. Oh, so here's another thing they say. They say, Vinay Prasad does not see patients. Okay, it's factually inaccurate.
That's not accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, especially-
That's why you're still on call.
yeah, that's why they keep-
That's why you're dressed in this beautiful outfit.
Well, you know.
And I'm basically in pajamas.
Yeah. So, you know, look, let's say somebody, and then they like a factually inaccurate tweet. So what is it? I mean, what am I to think if you like that tweet that is factually inaccurate? It means your brain is functioning so poorly, you have no ability to detect the difference between truth and fiction.
So why are you in my feed? Yeah.
Why are you in my feed?
Why are you at my dinner party?
And why are you? And then why are you upset that you're blocked? You should be liberated. When I'm blocked by somebody I dislike strongly,
Oh, it's great.
It's liberating.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'd occasionally accidentally stumble across their insipid content. I'm liberated from that.
Yeah, I don't have to watch Eugene Goo's content ever.
I even forgot about that.
Remember
dude.
that guy?
Yeah.
You know, so oh God.
I was thinking about the purveyor of, I don't want to say his name, but the siren emoji purveyor of COVID fear.
Oh, yes.
And then, anyway, I'll tell you offline this paper that we are finishing. Oh, speaking of COVID, you know how many I have like maybe 10 peer review articles on COVID in the pipeline, and they're all going to be,
Right in the nuts.
yeah, they're all going to be hard hitting. And it's so satisfying, you know, but you know, that's the thing about peer review. People are always like, oh, where are your peer review articles on COVID? I was like, don't you worry. we will crush you with them. I mean, we'll publish more than you could ever imagine, but they can't be done in an instant. I mean, it takes a lot of labor and then a lot of but we'll be crushing you for years to come. Op-eds crush you first.
Yeah.
But then they complain they don't have the peer review.
Right.
But now they're going to get crushed in the peer review for decades.
It's like long crushing.
Long crushing.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the tide is turning.
Yeah.
Pretty much vindicated on every point of view.
Yeah.
But VP, you were wrong about ivermectin. You were wrong about Gert von den Busche.
I don't even know who that is.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I wasn't
was
because
wrong, apparently. Yeah, right. You know what he was saying? This was the guy this veterinarian doctor in Europe was basically saying, yeah, you shouldn't vaccinate people during a pandemic because you're going to generate not just vaccine escape. That's fine. We know that's going to happen. You're going to generate more lethal versions of the virus.
I see. You'll select for lethality. But that would be irrational and doesn't even follow.
Doesn't happen. And he had some other things he was saying they're totally wrong.
Oh, and then back to this like early treatment people. They're like, well, why don't you support early treatment? I was like, you never did a proper randomized study showing that's better than not doing it. And then there's one study that maybe they do have a point that it shows that one of these drugs does not work.
Yeah.
But that study has some limitations to it, and they disagree with the dosing.
Sure.
But here's the thing that they don't realize. If you don't like a study that shows a product doesn't work, the burden is on you to run a study that shows how it can work.
Yeah.
You don't just get to say it doesn't work here, ergo it does work. No, you have to prove under what circumstances and at what dose it does work. You never did that.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you don't do that, then shut up.
Yeah.
And go back to clipping those obituaries for your scrapbook.
Yeah. You know how we know we're doing something right?
Yeah.
Those people hate us.
Yeah, right,
these people hate us. And then the rational everybody else is like, hey, these guys aren't terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, one of them has really large breasts from going to the gym.
From getting vaccinated.
From getting vaccinated, yeah. I have an estrogenoma from mRNA gone wild.
I guess for a lot of people, they had the axillary lymphadenopathy.
Oh, yeah. My buddy had that so bad, he thought he almost went to the ER because
he thought it was
bubo. He thought he had bubonic plague.
He thought he was, yeah.
Yeah.
He does have rats in his house, and he was bitten by a flea.
This is true. He was actually bitten by Flea, the bass player for the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I see.
While
wearing the plague mask.
That's right.
Yeah, the N95 plague mask.
N95 plague mask, which really its time has come.
Actually, if you made an N95 plague mask, I think there's a market for that.
It'd be huge in Venezuela. I understand they're really big in plague.
In the plague.
I made that up.
In
but
plague theater.
It feels correct.
Yeah. I was on the airplane recently to New York City.
Oh.
I'll tell you what I saw.
I like that you refer to it as the airplane.
The airplane.
That's like what old people do. Like I was on the internet.
I was on the internet.
Yeah,
I was on the airplane.
I was on the Google, and
It was United Economy, so you might as well. I really struggled to.
So you didn't even have.
I wish I would.
Could you even have had a carry-on on?
I was like, if you fly United Economy, you might as well just give up on life. Just throw in the towel.
It's true.
It's really like.
It's like having United Health Insurance. It's very similar.
You wonder what decisions you made wrong in life. Okay, so I'm on the airplane, and I look around, and I see like a family wearing the flow mask. You know what that is?
No, I don't.
It's like some plasticky rubber mask that sticks there. It has
has a valve.
It's like some valve, and it's like it makes everyone look sort of like a snout. It's almost like a snout mask. Yeah. And then the adults are masked. Okay, whatever. It's whatever they want to do. And then I swear to God, there's a child, and I'm not the expert on pediatrics, so I'm told.
Oh, so you're told by Twitter, yeah.
But I would place the child's age between 18 months and 36 months. It's in that window.
Okay.
And the child is wearing a flow mask.
Ooh.
And I'm like, what are you doing?
Man.
What are you doing?
I don't know, man.
I mean, everyone has the right to
do whatever you
ruin
want.
Their own children's
That's
lives.
True.
But, that's the right of any parent.
Abuse has been tolerated and encouraged for millennia.
But, this is just so dumb. And it's like, look, the risk to the child is low. Current variance is low. The child probably already had it. It's uncomfortable. It's certainly unpleasant. The child is so young. There's no data at that age. I mean, you can make a laundry list. And also this flow mask what is this garbage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is the effect too of the altitude? So those cabins are pressurized to about 7,000 feet or so.
Not sea level.
Yeah, not sea level.
I know because all my shampoo, small bottles.
Oh, they explode?
Yeah.
You have shampoo? You're so lucky.
Actually, to be honest with you, I lied because I actually never pack shampoo. I mean, I think the only thing I pack is deodorant and toothpaste.
Yeah, that's what I do. I don't have hair, so I don't need the shampoo.
Maybe shaving cream or something.
I started using electric shave pre-shave, and I find it just like a lubricant, so that, I don't know, it just feels nicer.
But then you use an electric shaver?
Yeah, I use an electric shaver. You use the blade?
Of course.
Oh my God, dude. You're so
The
manly.
old-fashioned blade, like Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh, exactly. Daniel Day-Lewis again. Dude, that's a good arc for the whole podcast. We started with the Z-Dog is the Daniel Day-Lewis of Doc Vader impersonators.
He is. You are Daniel Day-Lewis. You know, Mr. Day-Lewis, he's a really good actor.
Really is.
He's a really good.
Gangs of New York.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
And There Will Be Blood.
There Will Be Blood.
Brilliant.
Really good.
Lincoln. Brilliant.
What else was he in?
Now is the time. What else was he in?
Early
My
on.
Left Foot.
That's right.
I think he won the Academy Award for that. Dances with Wolves.
Dances with Wolves.
Phantom Thread.
Ooh.
I'm pretty good off the top of my head.
You
for
are good.
Day-Lewis, Mr. Day-Lewis. And also, did you know he's I think he's a certified like cobbler. Like he actually like knows how to make shoes.
Of course.
by hand.
Of course he is. That seems to just make sense.
And he quit when he was out on a high. I mean, he stopped.
He just stopped doing it. Unlike Steven Seagal, who just made Prostate of Siege, which is his new.
Does he make a new one? I mean, he's always making ones.
He's always him. You know what was it? Somebody just texted me and was like, "I just watched Under Siege again, and yes, it holds up." And I'm like, "But does it? Did it hold up even at the?" I think they were being ironic.
Yes, it holds.
But it was good.
You know what I watched? I watched Die Hard, the original.
Oh.
Around Christmas time. Holds up.
Holds
I
up.
watched Home Alone, the original.
Holds up totally.
Holds up,
yeah.
holds up totally.
Home Alone, the original,
With
is
Joe
amazing.
Pesci.
Oh my God. Catherine O'Hara.
He's like, "Why'd you take off your shoes, Marv? Why are you dressed like a chicken?" Brilliant. And it was written by John Hughes.
Of course, it was a
Yeah.
John Hughes movie, and it had Catherine O'Hara in it.
Oh, yeah,
and
she
it
was
had the theme. How did the theme go? It was like it's really catchy
I know,
once
it's
you remember
really
it.
catchy.
Oh, dude, my kids were humming it like all Christmas. But yeah, dude, such a good yes.
I think
Macaulay.
he was good in it.
Yeah,
He was good.
the creepy Santa guy and
The snow guy.
I think is homeless. Yeah.
And you know, and I mean, why is it a great movie? Every shot is thoughtful. The shot where he spills the drink on the counter and they throw away his passport, so that explains why. You know, when you watch it multiple times, you see like how could they have forgotten him? They show you they lost his ticket.
Yep.
He was asleep upstairs. They did the head count because the boy came across the street and they counted the head count wrong. So every little detail is constructed so that it's like ultimately plausible.
You know what?
Yeah.
They just perfectly illustrated medical safety, the Swiss cheese theory.
Yeah, when all the layers,
All the layers
line
and the
up.
holes line up.
Yeah.
Because all those things had to go wrong to leave a child at home on a trip. And you would go, how could they ever do that? And it's just like people who leave their kids in cars. It's usually a Swiss cheese thing. I interviewed or I did a show about this, and I spoke to the person. It was a nurse practitioner who had left their kid in a parked car. She had driven. So this was the Swiss cheese, right? Because people judge people so harshly for this.
The child was okay?
No, the child died.
Oh
yeah.
my God,
It was the
I'm
worst
so
thing.
sorry.
Okay.
Oh
It was
my
the
God.
worst
Oh, you
thing.
can't. Oh my God.
It was the worst thing you could ever imagine. And it came all over the news, and people were attacking this nurse practitioner.
And you interviewed her?
And so, I reached out. Her like representative reached out to me and said, you know, this is the story if you want to talk to her. And I did. And I did a piece on it. And this is what happened. All the Swiss cheese aligned. So normally she's really busy, works at a clinic. Her husband is an ER nurse. That night, normally the husband works nights and takes the kid to preschool. It's like a 2-year-old or something, very young little girl. And this time the husband got sick or something happened and they couldn't take him. Then, so the mom was driving a different car, going at a different time, and then autopiloted to work the way she normally does, parked, closed the door, kid fell asleep in the back, which she never does. Forgotten the kid was there, went, did her day, came back, found the kid. And yeah, it was the worst thing you could ever imagine. Now, and so I spent like 3 hours on the phone with her, and she was the most I mean, you can imagine
I see.
the living hell.
I mean, there's no one can punish her more than she'll punish
And then she's punished herself.
Yeah.
And she was, thank God, she was acquitted and let go and all that because it was criminally charged. And, and it's like, but this happens, right?
Oh,
We're humans.
gosh, I don't
and
believe in
and you know
fear.
what? So I started researching it more. It happens more to smart people because they're already so cognitively busy.
Yeah, that they put things on autopilot.
They put things on autopilot. They really rely on their unconscious to kind of run the background stuff. Yeah. So the point is, again, like Home Alone, like that could have gone very badly.
Oh, I see. Of course.
Right?
Like, yes, it's fantastical to think he would pull off this
thing. And so that in a way, it's kind of like we watch Home Alone and we go, oh, but by the grace of God go I, that actually didn't happen. And the more you watch it, because at first you watch it and you go, I would never be that stupid as to leave my kid at home alone while I go on a trip. And then you go, but by the grace of God walk I.
But you know, what I really liked about that is, okay, all the elements are there. to make the Swiss cheese models there. The pacing is great. The music is great. The acting is great. And the cuts are perfect. I mean, it can't be any shorter. It can't be any longer. It's really sort of the perfect length. And as for the story of that lady, I don't know. That's, I think, hard. I was talking on another podcast about, I wrote that essay about duty, and it was all about motivated by the Uvalde massacre. And those cops. And, I told you too, I was like so annoyed.
It's bad.
To stand out there. I think that's a cultural failing. I mean, not about this woman, the Uvalde thing, which is like not doing your duty. And I don't know. I mean, it's always difficult to hear these very horrible N of one anecdotes because, as you point out, these things are inevitable. And it's also not clear what sort of changes what lessons anyone can take away from it.
That's right.
It's like being, it's unclear what lesson there is to learn other than life can be cruel.
Yeah, and then it's just like in medical safety, you could look at it and go, okay, so what would we do to address the root cause? Well, you could put sensors in the car that actually bleep if you leave a weight in a car seat. Say.
The problem with that is for every child that's left, it'll be 1 million false bleeps. And then you get alert fatigue, and then you forget about it. Correct.
So there's all kinds of things, right? But there's also even just what was interesting is a human experiment. So when I did the video on that, I was obviously very, emotionally moved in the video and very much defending that this can happen to any of us. And you need to understand that, and that's awareness to raise. But what would happen in the comments is there would be a good maybe 20% of the comments where people were like, no, this is absolutely wrong. This woman is a murderer.
They said that?
Oh, absolutely. And she'll burn in hell. And how dare she, this poor child, and so on. And I started realizing I would get angry. Like I would be like, she's reading these comments.
Oh my God.
And, but what I realized was, no, you know what it is it's a kind of a projection. They're so internally mortified because they know at the deepest level that it could be them too.
And they can't feel that.
They can't feel it. So they just project out and go, no, this isn't a monster. Like I'm not a monster.
But I would imagine that a person like her is at like severely high risk of suicide and things like that.
Absolutely. But with her, she had so much support in ways, and actually what we were doing actually was providing a lot of support. Okay. So she had a lot of support, but it was, I couldn't, and, but
it's a tough story.
It's a tough story.
I guess. Yeah. Well, anyway, you took from Home Alone to the darkest.
I took it to the darkest.
Really?
Yeah, it's the full range of human experience.
Yeah,
that's what we're about here at the VPZD.
VPZD show. Yeah. So wow, it's like an emotional roller coaster. We went from your father to this to that. Okay, well, you get it all on this show. Okay. So, all right, I think we did a thing.
I think we did.
We hit all our educational topics.
We did. We may have one. No. I think we did everything. There's one thing I wanted to talk about that I think we could save for next time, which is non-compete agreements.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I want to wait until FTC weighs in on this because I think it is important for healthcare. But other than that, I think we did a thing. So we're now, it's on video on your platform. We alternate.
That's what we're gonna do. We'll try to.
We'll try our best.
Insofar as the rains allow us.
That's right. We may, that's true. It's kind of the deluge.
Yeah,
we may have to shut down VPZD Industries because of the rain.
Because you get an email. 2-hour delay.
Here comes the rain again. I miss the Eurythmics, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Good band. What's her name? Annie Lennox.
Oh, yes, Lennox.
Walking on broken glass. Dun, dun, dun. Remember that song?
You're too young. No, you're singing it well.
You're too young.
You're singing it well. I was impressed.
Oh, it's all
an old man with pipes.
Castrato. That's what they call me.
So we can end the show now. You can put your glasses back on so you can read. Before the show started, I was like, oh, check what it says over there. He's like, oh, let me get my spectacles.
Well, it appears that, where's my monocle, sir? Oh, it appears that...
He's like, sorry, the hearing aid's not on. I have to turn it up before you do. Yeah, why does it have the feedback?
That's a good question. Good question. I'm remembering when I was very young, I grew up with a kid who was in fourth grade. He was my best friend. Yeah. He had bilateral hearing aids. So I wonder if he had meningitis when he was young or something. I never knew at the time.
But you heard the feedback.
Yeah, so what I would do is I was merciless. Whenever I had a chance, I would just bend his ear forward and we'd go, yeah, and he was like, dude, fucking stop doing that. But I'm in fourth grade. I don't know any better. And then it was clear to me, like, wow, I'm an idiot. And but
I just saw somebody put in hearing aids the other day, and it made the same.
It does that, yeah. It still does that.
I mean, it must be because it's picking up its own sound,
signal,
right?
Yeah, it's a true feedback.
We know about feedback loops, but one can imagine they got to make a better hearing aid. Anyway, so on that positive note, we'll be back hopefully within a week or two.
Yeah, okay. I'm down.
All right, we'll be back. We'll be back in Z-Dog Studios.
Or wherever you want, yeah.
I'll try to alternate.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
So next time I come down there,
Yeah.
we'll be back in Z-Dog Studios. And I think if you like the show, what should they do?
Okay. Smash the like button on his video.
You got to smash it.
Smash it.
You
Leave a
can't
comment.
just push it.
No, you got to smash it.
Depress.
Yeah,
Because if you push something and it doesn't come all the way back up, it's depressed.
If you lightly indent it, it's not enough.
You have to smash it.
Smash it like it's going out of style.
Subscribe to the channel if you don't already.
Yes, that's
that would
right.
be your first.
That would be a
choice.
key.
Yeah.
And then go over to my channel and subscribe to that.
Yes.
And share this with your friends. Tell your friends about it. Email them.
Yes.
Each of us have our own links that you'll see in the description.
Yes.
Yeah.
And subscribe to Sensible Medicine.
Oh yes.
And you know what they need to do? They need to like write a few lines review on.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
If you can review it on the podcast.
Don't just click the stars. Say I like this or I don't like that.
Or I hate this guy because he doesn't snort ivermectin and he clearly has worms.
Yeah, you could say he didn't believe in things that are not supported by randomized data.
Right. And nature abhors that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nature abhors that.
Exactly.
So on that note, we'll be back. ZD, we out.
VP, and thanks guys. Peace.
Bye.